Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just a little over 1 month away from its official release by Disney and Lucasfilm, as well as creator George Lucas and director J.J. Abrams. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one aspect of Episode 9 that a lot of fans are really looking forward to is, of course, the return of many of the legacy characters. And when I talk about legacy characters, we're talking about the original trilogy characters like Palpatine, Luke, Han Solo, Leia, Chewbacca, you name it. And that's exactly what JJ wants to do. He wants to make this the true culmination of the Skywalker saga, and to also use this movie as a way in order to really connect itself to the prequels and the originals in different aspects that we would have never expected to see on the big screen. Not just that, JJ also has a plan in place to make this by far the darkest Star Wars film there is, out of the entire Skywalker saga, even darker than that of Revenge of the Sith. Now, with that being said, what's quite worrisome has all to do with the changes that have been made during the reshoots and the rewrites of this movie, and how it all has to do with Mark Hamill's Luke Skywalker. Now, specifically, it's explained that during the reshoots and rewrites of the film, many changes and adjustments were made during the shift by Disney and Lucasfilm to bring in a new approach to the movie. It's explained that many of these changes has to do with JJ's new vision of the film, as well as by Disney, Lucasfilm, and Kathleen Kennedy. While these changes were being made, it's noted that many of the scenes featuring Mark Hamill were cut from the film. It's described that around a total of 30 to 40% of Mark Hamill's scenes were cut from the film during the major changes to the film's plot during the reshoots, and how they wanted to deliver a brand new vision to the film's story. One of the Mark Hamill scenes that were cut from the initial cut of the movie involved a flashback sequence that would involve Luke's time on the world of Jakku during the Battle of Jakku, where de-aging technology was used for Mark Hamill to make him appear as he did in Return of the Jedi. This scene was ultimately cut due to how it took up too much screen time of the total running time of the film, where it's explained that this would have tapped into various legends of Luke Skywalker after Return of the Jedi that would be told by a character called the Dark Prince in the movie. Another Mark Hamill sequence that was cut from the film, apart from the 30 to 40% of the Luke scenes that were cut, involved flashbacks of Luke's life on Ahch-To and crash landing into the ocean of Ahch-To, where fans would understand exactly what it was like for Luke to first arrive at the First Jedi Temple. Now, this scene was shot over at both Pinewood and Cardington that would have tapped into Luke's life during his isolation. The scene was very complex to shoot, as they had to match the continuity of how Ahch-To appeared in The Last Jedi. This scene, however, was cut and replaced with a Force Ghost scene between Luke and Rey on Ahch-To in present time, and is said to be a part of Rey's final lesson in the movie. Mark Hamill shot many flashback scenes during the month of September of 2018, where he shaved off his beard and was either de-aged for a scene or portrayed a middle-aged version of Luke in other flashbacks for the movie. Additionally, another Mark Hamill scene for Luke that was deleted involved a segment where Luke would be in the form of a Force Ghost, fighting the Force Spear of Palpatine in the initial cut of the movie, before they decided to keep Palpatine alive after the events of Return of the Jedi. This sequence was to involve Mark Hamill as Luke using a power from the netherworld of the Force that would allow him to defeat Sidious once and for all by weakening his spirit before he possessed Kylo Ren inside of his throne room, and that the scene took roughly 3 days to film. The Mark Hamill sequences that were cut were said to have also been cut from the film due to Kathleen Kennedy of Lucasfilm wanting to create a new tone for the movie before they actually were now using George Lucas to reset certain scenes of the movie that were changed because of all of this. Disney and Lucasfilm are getting ready to market the film as well during this month of November. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, as you all know, Episode 9 is a very important movie for Disney and Lucasfilm. They absolutely need this movie to perform well at the box office, because it's going to truly determine exactly where the future of the Star Wars franchise will stand. And what we're actually talking about there is the new Star Wars trilogy, the live-action TV series, animated TV series, I mean, the list goes on, right? Now, with Disney and Lucasfilm planning a brand new expanded universe in 2020, what I mean by that is books, novels, comics, essentially telling more tales and stories of, events that take place in between specific movies of the Skywalker saga will be explained throughout the 2020s. Now, with that being said, the fact that around 30 to 40% of Mark Hamill's scenes as Luke Skywalker were cut from the movie is honestly devastating. It's devastating to Disney, Lucasfilm, and to the fans, because whenever you think about a movie that is called The Rise of Skywalker, you have the Skywalker title on there, the name itself with the bloodline attached to the title of the movie. You expect to see at least something to do with Luke's life in a very epic and, in-depth way by JJ Abrams, right? Now, granted, there's still going to be Luke scenes, but the fact that 30 to 40% of Mark Hamill's scenes were cut from the movie, I think is pretty devastating and drastic by Disney and Lucasfilm to make that many changes. Now, this falls directly in line with what we were talking about a couple of months ago, that, August, September, and October, crucial months for the reshoots of Episode 9 to really change the overall tone of this movie by Kathleen Kennedy, JJ, etc. The fact that now George Lucas is now resetting some of those scenes due to those changes. You can see how Disney may have realized that they may have made a mistake. Now, obviously they can't shoot new scenes. They can't do exactly what they want to do, even with some of the existing scenes that were deleted, because a good chunk of the movie was changed to keep Palpatine alive, and some of the flashbacks that interlock with the other flashback scenes do not fit as of right now because it's a chain reaction. The entire movie was changed in the second and third acts of the film during those 3 months of reshoots in, of course, mid-2019 of this year. So here we are at the very end of the year. We're approaching December 19th, 35 days remaining. I mean, think about that. Just try to process that. 35 days remaining. Disney and Lucasfilm are really trying to get this project together to make it work perfectly for the Star Wars fans, and to really make it a true ending of the Skywalker saga. I can only imagine what's going through their minds as of right now, because of how the implications will be, negatively speaking, if this does not meet expectations and if it does not do well at the box office. We've seen a prime example of what happened with Solo when that performed very weak at the box office, is that they literally canceled over 10 years worth of Star Wars films. Let that sink in for a moment. 10 years worth of standalone movies were deleted, or should I say canceled, because of Solo's box office. And because of that, a lot of it had to do with reshoots. Solo's Star Wars story went under different reshoots that actually upped the budget of the movie. They had to spend more money on it. 80% of the movie was reshot. And on top of that, it just did not do well because of The Last Jedi. And it was just a big chain reaction, and it's what led to Disney and Lucasfilm using the fatigue excuse, that there is franchise fatigue in Star Wars and that less is more. Now, like I say, Star Wars isn't Marvel. I understand that. You can't have 2 to 3 movies a year. But having one movie every year, I think, is fine. And I don't really think that's what led to franchise fatigue at all, in any way, shape, or form. If you look at The Mandalorian, that's a prime example of the fact that there is no franchise fatigue. It's all a matter of what you make. The Mandalorian right now sits at, I believe, 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, deleting Mark Hamill's scenes, around 30 to 40% of them, mostly in the form of flashbacks. I know that a lot of fans out there don't like flashbacks, but the good thing about flashbacks is that you would be getting Luke Skywalker in the flesh. We're still getting those, but 30 to 40% of them were cut, which is pretty drastic. It's a pretty big move by Disney and Lucasfilm to really make that big of a change for The Rise of Skywalker for Kathleen Kennedy, to achieve her own vision of the overall tone of the movie that's now kind of being scrambled and changed around, with George Lucas stepping in this phase of desperation by Disney and Lucasfilm. And, a lot of people are very concerned about the movie because, well, at the end of the day, I mean, look at it. This is the end of the Skywalker saga. This truly means everything to original trilogy fans, prequel trilogy fans, the implications it's going to have on the past 8 Star Wars films. A lot of people really aren't all that, in support of Palpatine being alive. And, I do understand people's vision on that. How Palpatine is alive, how it kind of interferes with Anakin's sacrifice. I can understand that concern, I do. At the same exact time, we gotta see exactly how it's going to be executed and explained in the movie, and then take it from there, and then we can actually talk about how the fans are going to react to it all, and how they are going to be reacting to it at that point in time. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Simba